We continue now at the top of Daf Kuf Zayin Amid Aleph and Mesechet Sanhedrin. This is Sanhedrin Daf 107a. This Daf is sponsored by Alexander Rosenfeld in memory of Shmuel Zev Rosenfeld. Thank you for your sponsorship. If you'd like to sponsor an Amid or Daf, see the description box below, and see the description box below to see how you can support this channel. On the previous Amid, the Gemara was bringing the last statement of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says that originally Achitofel was like a Rebbe to David HaMelech, then he was like a Chaver, like a colleague of David HaMelech's, and eventually he became like a Talmud, like a student of David HaMelech, and the Gemara now is in the middle of showing that he became a student from the Pasuk in Tehillim. The Pasuk in Tehillim says, even my friend who I trusted, Ochelachmi, the one who eats my bread, and Rashi explains, Ochelachmi Lomei Torasi, who learns my Torah. Here's where you see that David HaMelech refers to Achitofel as a student. Higdil Olai Akev has lifted his heel against me. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda says that Rav says, Liolam al yavi adam atzmo lidei nisayon. A person should never bring himself to be tested. Sharei David Melech Yisrael, because David, the king of Israel, hevi atzmo lidei nisayon, he brought himself to a test, v'nichshel, and he stumbled. Amar Lefanav, he said before him, Ribona Shalom, master of the world. Mimnei ma omer melokei Avraham, melokei Yitzchak, ve'elokei Yaakov. Why do they say the God of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? Ve'ein omer, and they don't say elokei David. They don't say the God of David. And the Gemara continues, HaKadosh Baruch Hu responds, Amar inu minsuli, he said that they were tested by me. V'at, but you, David HaMelech, lo minsisli, you were not tested by me. And the Gemara continues, Amar Lefanav, he said before him, Ribona Shalom, master of the world, B'chanani v'nasani, examine me and test me. Shenemar, as it says in the Pasuk, there's a Pasuk in Tehillim, B'chaneini Hashem v'naseni, again, test me, examine me. And the Gemara continues, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, Minsin Allah, I'm going to test you, Va'avidna milsa b'hadach, and I'm going to do something with you that is unique. Delididhu lo haudatinu, because to them I didn't let them know the nature of the test. V'ilu anak hamodanalach, but with regards here, I'm going to let you know the minsin Allah, that I'm going to test you, bidvar erva, with something that has to do with arayas. And the Gemara continues, Miyad, immediately, Vayhilo Esa Erev, it was in the evening, Vayakum David Me'al Meshkavo, David got up from his bed, and this is the beginning of the story of when David HaMelech sinned with Bathsheba. And the Gemara continues and explains, Amar Rav Yehuda says, Shahafach Mishkavo Shalayla LeMishkavo Shal Yom. What's going on in this pasuk is that David HaMelech, he changed his laying down at night to laying down during the daytime, meaning to say that David HaMelech would have relations during the day as well, and he thought that by doing that, it would lessen his desire and he would not come to sin. But the Gemara continues and explains it was exactly the opposite. V'nesalma mimenu halacha, but he forgot about the halacha. He forgot about the way it works. Aver katan yesh ba'adam, there's a small limb that a person has. The aver masbio, if he satisfies it, roiv, so it's actually starving at that point. It needs more. Umariva, but if he starves it, then sava, then it's actually satisfied. So it had the exact opposite effect. What David HaMelech was doing was, it actually increased his desire. And the Gemara continues, Vayisalech al gag beis HaMelech vayar isha rochetzes me'al agag. The pasuk says he went on the roof of the house of the king and he saw a woman. She was bathing on the roof. Va'isha tovas mare ma'od, and the woman was very beautiful. And the Gemara continues and explains, Bathsheba hava kachaifa reisha tusei chalsa. Bathsheba, she was shampooing her hair and she was underneath a beehive. Asa Satan, and the Satan came, and idmi lekitziparta, the Satan appeared to him like a bird. Pasak begira, so he shot an arrow at it, and paska lechalsa, and then the arrow, it ended up hitting the beehive, and then Igla, she was revealed, v'chazi, and he saw her. And the Gemara continues, Miyad, immediately, Vayishlach David, Vayidrosh leisha, David sent, and he tried to find out about the woman. Vayomer, he said, Halozos, is this not Bathsheba bes Eliam Eshes Uriah Hachiti? This is Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah. Vayishlach David malachim v'yikocheh, David sent messengers, and he took her. Vatavo Elov, she came to him. Vayishkav Ima, he laid with her. V'himiskadeshes mitumasa, and she was purified from her impurity. Vatashav el Beisa, and she returned to her house. And the Gemara continues, V'hainu dichsiv, and that's what's written in the pasuk. B'chanta libi, you have proved my heart. Pakarata laila, you have visited me in the night. Tzeraftani bal timsa, you have tried me and found nothing. Zamosi bal yavor pi, let no presumptuous thought, let it not pass from my mouth. And the Gemara explains, Amar David HaMelech said, Icho zemamo nafal bepume demand desonili, if only a muzzle would have fallen in the mouth of the one who hated me. That's a euphemism. If only a muzzle would have come upon my mouth, velo amar ki ha milsan, he wouldn't have said, meaning I wouldn't have said such a thing. And Rashi explains the pasuk in Tehillim, Pakadata Laila, you visited me at night, Al Maisa Laila Pakadatani, on something that happens at night, that's what you visited upon me. Im Ucha Lamod Benisayon Shal Dvar Aveira, meaning if I would be able to withstand the test of the Aveira. Tzaraftani Bal Timsa, you tried me and you didn't find, which Rashi understands to mean Chashavta Litzarfeni, you wanted to test me, you wanted to try me. Velo Mitzasani Naki, but you did not find that I was Naki, you did not find that I was clean and innocent. And then the Gemara said, if only there would have been a muzzle, it would have been better to hold back my words. That I wouldn't have said that you should test me. David HaMelech regretted that he asked for such a test. And the Gemara continues, Darash Rava Rava Darshan Maidechsiv. What does it mean when it's written in the pasuk in Tehillim? Lamnatseach leDavid, to the leader, to David. BaHashem chasisi, and Hashem I trusted. Ech tomru lenafshi. How do you say to my soul, Nudi harchem tzipor, flee like a bird to your mountain? And the Gemara explains the pasuk. Amar David lifnei Hakadosh Baruch Hu. David said before Hakadosh Baruch Hu, Ribona Shalom, Master of the world, Mechol li al oso avon. Forgive me for that sin with Bathsheba. Shalo yomru harsha b'chem. The people shouldn't say the mountain among you. That's the reference in the pasuk to Harchem, your mountain. The mountain among you is referring to David HaMelech. That Tzipor Nadadito, that it was because of a bird, like the story we saw above, because he shot the arrow at the bird. That's why the beehive was severed, and he saw Bathsheba. It was because of that bird that David HaMelech was driven from the world. And the Gemara continues, Darash Rava Rava Darshan Ma'idechsiv. What does it mean when it's written in the pasuk in Tehillim, L'chol evadcha chatasi v'hara beinecha asisi. I sinned and I did what was bad in your eyes. L'man titztak b'davrecha tizke b'shaftech, in order that you would be right in your words, in your judgment. And the Gemara explains in the pasuk, Amar David lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. David said before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Gal yav yadia kamach. It is revealed and known before you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Di boy l'michvi liyitzri have a chayfin. If I wanted to overcome my Yetzer Hara, I would have been able to do so. Ela amina de lo lemru avda zachi lamari. But rather I said to myself, I didn't want people to say that the servant essentially was correct over the master, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu said that David HaMelech would not pass the test, and so therefore David did not want to pass the test and prove, so to speak, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was wrong. And the Gemara continues, Darash Rava Rava Darshan Ma'idechsiv. What does it mean when it's written in the pasuk? This is also from Sefer Tehillim, Ki ani letzel anachon, because I am ready to stumble, umachovi negdi tamid, and my pain is always before me. And the Gemara explains the pasuk, Ru'uya haisa Bathsheba bas Elyam leDavid misheishes yimei bereishis. Bathsheba was really fit for David already from the 6 days of creation. Ela shaba ela b'machov, but it happened that she came to him in circumstances that were painful. And the Gemara continues, V'chein tana devei Rabbi Shmuel. Likewise, it was taught in the yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel. Ru'uya haisel David Bathsheba bas Elyam. Again, Bathsheba was fit to be with David anyhow. Ela sha'achla paga, but it ended up happening that he partook from her in this unripe fashion. And the Gemara continues, Darash Rava Rava Darshan D'Maidechsiv. What does it mean when it's written in the pasuk? Also from Sefer Tehillim, Uvitzali, and when I was limping, Samachu, they were happy, V'nesvu, and they gathered, Nesvu Olai Nechem, the wretched ones, they gathered upon me, V'lo Yadati, and I didn't know them, Karu V'lo Damu, they tore, and they did not cease. And the Gemara explains the pasuk, Amar David lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. David said before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribbono Shalom, Master of the world, Goloi V'yadu Lefanecha, it's revealed and known before you, Shem Hayu Korin Besari, that if they tore my flesh, Lo Haya Dami Shoses, my blood would not drip, meaning my blood wouldn't drip because of all of the fasting that I have undertaken in my life. V'lo Oda, not only that, Ala B'shashem Oskin Ba'arba Misas Bezin, at the time that they're learning the topics of the 4 death penalties, Poskin Mi Mishnas, and they cease from their learning, V'omrim Li, and they say to me, David, Habo Aleshasish, David, somebody who has relations with a married woman, Misaso Bameh, what is the death penalty for that? Amarti Lahem, so I said back to them, Habo Aleshasish, if somebody has relations with a married woman, Misaso Bechenek, his death penalty is with strangulation. V'yesh lo chelik li'olam haba, but he still has a portion in the world to come. Aval hamal ben pnei chaver barabim, but somebody who embarrasses his friend in public, ein lo chelik li'olam haba, does not have a portion in the world to come. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda says that Rav says, Afilu b'shas cholio shel David, even at the time of the illness of David HaMelech, Kayim Shmona Esrei Onos, he fulfilled the obligations of the 18 conjugal rights of his wives. He had 18 wives. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Yagati be'anchasi, I'm weary in my groaning. Ascha b'chol laila, I speak every night. Mitasi, in my bed. B'dimasi arsi amsa, with my tears my couch is melted. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, and Rav Yehuda says that Rav says, Bikesh David lavod avodah zarah. David wanted to worship avodah zarah. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, this is in Sefer Shmuel, Vahi David bo'ad harosh. It says David came until the top of the ascent, Asher yishtacha v'sham le'elokim, where he bowed to God. V'yein rosh al avodah zarah. And the word rosh over here is an indication of avodah zarah. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, a pasuk from Sefer Daniel, V'hu tzalmo reishe did dahav tov, that the idol, its head was of fine gold. And the Gemara continues, the pasuk in Sefer Shmuel says, V'hinei lekraso, and behold, in front of him Chushai ho'arki was Chushai ho'arki, Karua kutanto, his coat was torn, V'adama al rosho, and there was earth on his head. And this is in the context of when Avshalom is pursuing David HaMelech to kill him. And the Gemara explains the pasuk, Amar lo leDavid, Chushai says to David, Yomru melech shekemoscha, they're going to say that a king like you, Yavod avodah zarah, he should serve avodah zarah. Amar lo, he said to him, Melech shekemosi, a king like me, Yahargenu beno, should his son kill him? Muta of Yavod avodah zarah. It's better that he should serve avodah zarah. Val yischalol shem shamayim b'faresi, and the Shem Shamayim, the name of heaven, should not be profaned in public. And the Gemara continues, Amar, so he said to him, Chushai said to David HaMelech, My taima konasivt Yefas Toar, why did you marry Yefas Toar, referring to the mother of Avshalom? Amar Lei said to him, Yefas Toar, Rachmana Shariye, the Torah says it's permitted. In a situation of war, there's a beautiful captive woman, you're allowed to marry that Yefas Toar. Amar Lei said to him, Lo darashta smuchen, but you didn't darshan the nearby psukim. The samach lei, because nearby it says, Ki ish ben sorah mora, that a person will have a son that's rebellious, and we understand from that, Kol hanosi Yefas Toar, anybody who marries a Yefas Toar, Yesh lo ben sorah mora, he has a son that is a ben sorah mora, that is rebellious. And the Gemara continues, Darash Rab Dustoi D'min Biri, Rab Dustoi from Biri, he darshaned as follows, Lamad David Adoma, what is David similar to? L'socher Kusi, to a Samaritan merchant, who essentially bargains with a person. Amar David Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, David said before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam, master of the world, Shagios Miyavin, who's able to discern a person's errors, a person's mistakes? Amar Lei said, Shaviki Lach, he said, you're forgiven for those. Uminastaros Nakeni, and then David HaMelech said, cleanse me from the hidden sins. And he said, Shaviki Lach, you're forgiven for that as well. And Gami Zaydim Chasoch Avdecha, keep from your servant also that which was done on purpose. And Shviki Lach, he said, you're forgiven for that. And then he said, Al Yim Shluvi Az Esam, what does that pasuk mean? Not to rule over me. To lo lishto be Rabbanan, that the Rabbanan shouldn't speak bad of me. And he said, Shviki Lach, he said, you're forgiven for this as well. And then Vini Kesimi Pasharav, David HaMelech says that I should be cleansed from great sin, which means Shalo Yikasev Surchuni, that my sin should not be written in the Navi. Amar Lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to him, Yefsha, that's impossible. Uma Yud Shanatalti Mi Sarai, if the Yud that I took from the name of Sarai, I changed Sarai's name to Sarah, that Yud, Omid V'tzavach Kamashanim, it stood and it complained for many years. At Shabbat Yehoshua, until Yehoshua came, V'osafti Lo, and I added that Yud to his name. Shenemar, as it says in the Pasuk, Vayikra Moshe Hoshea ben Nun Yehoshua, Moshe called Hoshea ben Nun Yehoshua, adding the Yud to the name Hoshea. So Kol HaParsha Kula, so the entire Parsha, the whole episode of your sin, Alachas Kama V'Kama, most certainly that has to be written in the Navi. And the Gemara continues, the pasuk again says, V'nikesi mi pasharav, I should be cleansed from this great sin. Amar Lefanav, David said before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ribono Shel Olam, master of the world, Mecholi, al oso avon kulo, forgive me for this entire sin. Amar, he said, Kvar osid Shlomo bin Chalomar b'chachma, so Shlomo in the future, he's already going to say in his wisdom, and this is a pasuk from Mishlei, Hayachta ish eish b'cheiko, a person's going to have fire in his lap, uvagadav lo tesrafena, you think his clothing are not going to be burned. Im yahalach ish al hagachol, if somebody's going to walk on coals, v'raglav lo techavena, you think his feet are not going to be burned. Kain haba aleishes reyehu, so too somebody who has relations with the wife of his friend, lo yenaka kol hanogea, boy, can't be cleansed, anybody who touches her. And the Gemara continues, Amar Lei, so David HaMelech said to him, Kol hachi nitra hu gavra, so much this person should be driven out of the world to come. Amar Lei said to him, Kibel alecha yisur, and you should accept upon yourself afflictions. And so the Gemara says, Kibel olav, the Gemara says, indeed, David HaMelech accepted that upon himself. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yehuda Marav, Rav Yehuda says that Rav says, Shisha Chadashim, for 6 months, Nitztara David had saras, he had leprosy, V'nistalka heimenu Shechina, and the Shechina left him, Upershu mimenu Sanhedrin, and the Sanhedrin, they separated from him as well. And the Gemara brings sources for this, Nitztara, he had leprosy, Techsib, because it's written in the Pasuk in Tehillim, the Pasuk says, Techateni ba'ezov, I should be purified, with the Hissiv v'atar, I should be pure, Techavseinu mishelag albin, and I should be cleansed, and the idea over here there is the purification process of the Metzora, meaning to say that he had Saras. And the Gemara continues, Nestalka heimenu Shechina, the Shechina was removed from him. Tichsiv, as it's written in the Pasuk in Tehillim, Hashiva lisa soni yeshecha v'ruach nediva tismecheni. The Pasuk is indicating that David HaMelech wants it to return to him, the Shechina. And finally, Upershim mimenu Sanhedrin, finally the Sanhedrin, they separated from him, Tichsiv, as it's written in the Pasuk in Tehillim, Yashuvu li yireyecha, they should return to me, again referring to the Sanhedrin. And the Gemara continues, Shisha chadashim minalan, where do we know that this was for 6 months, that these afflictions were for 6 months? Tichsiv, because it's written in the Pasuk in Sefer Malachim, V'hayam asher malach David al Yisrael arbaim shana, David was king over Yisrael for 40 years, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Kuf Zayin Amid Beis.